So Mike Martz hopped on with us about a week or two ago, former offensive coordinator with the 49ers, former head coach of the St. Louis Rams. And Mike Martz, when we were asking him about Trey Lance, had this to say about Trey Lance a couple of weeks ago, back on August 28th. Here's what he said to us.
Well, he's been there now long enough to be ready. I promise you that. He's been with them now, so he knows the offense. If he's not ready now, he'll never be ready. I don't care how raw he was. It's who he is and how well he competes and assimilates the offense and those kinds of things. I think he's, obviously, I'm not there. I've never seen him practice, but I would trust the fact that they made that move, that there's a great belief in his ability and where he'll be, and he'll coach him like that. And I think when you get a guy coaching you like that believes in you, regardless, it just energizes you. It just gives you great confidence. And I think they have a great relationship.
So Mike Martz saying a couple of weeks ago, here's someone who must be ready, because Kyle Shanahan's saying he must be ready. So that's kind of enough for me. He's been in the system long enough. There's not a lot more prep work that needs to be done. It's a matter of roll him out there and see how he plays. Well, Mike Martz saw Trey Lance in Chicago, and after just destroying the Chicago Bears in terms of how bad he thinks they're going to be this year, wrapped it up with this is on the 33rd team website. And Mike Martz, after playing up Trey Lance very positively on a stage here in San Francisco to us, because he knew he was doing a San Francisco radio show, here's what he had to say about Trey Lance today, a much different tune.
I've never seen anything about this kid that was encouraging at all. He really has to plan himself to make a good throw. He's not a quick decision guy. Everybody's shot in the rear about him being a mobile guy making plays with his feet. He looked like a fullback stumbling around trying to run the ball to me. I mean, he's not Lamar, so I don't know what he is. He's not particularly a good guy running with the football. And based on what I saw today, I mean, he missed two guys completely by themselves. I know it was in the rain, but your quarterbacks do that. You make those throws. I know this, he can only go up. He can only get better because you can't get any worse than what he did today. I've never liked him. I still don't like him. I'd like to know what he does so well, because he's not a great passer, doesn't have good skills, takes him a long time to set himself and throw the football, misses easy throws, and he's not particularly a good runner. Other than that, he's a hell of a player.
So Mike Martz went from, I like him. I think he's set up for success. I think I like him too. I never liked him at all. I never thought he was going to be anything. The one question that he did ask that was legitimate, well, we'll get to that in a second. Let me welcome everybody to your 5 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
Doesn't even like the way he runs. So he doesn't like the way he moves, doesn't like the way he plants himself, doesn't like the way he throws, doesn't like anything about him, never has, even though on August 28th he had plenty to say with us about what he liked about Trey Lance. He has reversed his decision completely and is definitely either a prisoner of the moment or is trying to get clicks or really does feel that way and was then lying to us when we talked to him just a few weeks ago. But that is a much different evaluation after 4 quarters in Chicago. I don't know whether or not we can book Mike Martz again, because that is as big a pendulum swing on one guy based on 4 quarters that I've ever heard.
Here's what I heard.
Is he just making it up as he goes along?
I think he was making it up as he goes along when he talked to us, because he hadn't seen him, because nobody has really seen him. I think he basically said, this is what I saw today in this game, and I don't like the way he played. And then proceeded to say, well, there's nothing about him to like. Well, if that's your only, point of evaluation, then all you've really said is, I haven't seen enough yet. I mean, because that's the only thing you can say. I mean, he wasn't great, and maybe those fundamental things that Martz pointed out maybe are true. Maybe, in fact, that's one of the reasons why Kyle Shanahan doesn't open up the offense for him, because he doesn't like his footwork, because he doesn't seem to, to throw to the spot the way he should. Maybe all that is a fact that you base on the 4 quarters you saw on Sunday. But I don't know that he knows much more about him any more than we do. I mean, the only interesting thing, and you said it yourself, was I don't like the way he runs. Now, did he not like the way he runs because he was running in the rain and maybe his gait is different? Because he didn't say he didn't like the way he held the ball.
Right, he said he moves like a fullback.
Well, maybe everybody was moving like a fullback because you're running through 3 inches of water. And I'm not making excuses for him. All I know is I don't know anything about this yet. And I'm perfectly happy to admit that over and over again. I think we don't have anything to evaluate Trey Lance on. Whether he knows the offense, whether he can run the offense, whether he's fully fundamentally sound, whether he's just maybe a guy with a big arm who has to grow into everything else. But you can't be, I kind of like him because Kyle likes him, and then 3 weeks later go, geez, he can't do anything. I don't think we know what he can do yet. And I think that's the thing that makes everybody in this town nuts right now. It's because they wanted answers, and they wanted answers immediately.
We didn't get them.
Well, we didn't get him Sunday, but we didn't get him last year when everybody was screaming, he's the future, and you got to get rid of Garoppolo immediately. He's going to be a drag on the salary cap. Well, that turned out to be false. I mean, again, we're talking about a scenario that almost no other team has ever tried, which is take the successful quarterback, try to get rid of him, fail, and then basically make him the backup to a guy with essentially no resume. So nobody's got any template for any of this, but nobody wants to say, well, gee, I don't know what to say yet. So they just fly off the handle and go, well, he can't, the coach isn't doing a very good job with him, or he's not taking their training wheels off, or he can't play at all. I mean, whatever you say definitively about Trey Lance right now is either a lie or a miscalculation based on no evidence.
Right. It feels like it's a little performative.
It's a lot performative. And it's not just Martz performing it, because you've heard it all day long. You heard it all day long yesterday. You're going to hear it all day on Sunday. They don't know. And they feel like if I say I don't know, somebody upstairs is going to yell at me for not knowing. Well, there's nothing to know right now. So cool your jets. Just admit that this guy is a mystery and he fits into this team in some way, but nobody knows how. Just, talk about something else.
I'm surprised that Martz decided to come down so definitively as he did, though, after a real tough game in which to make an evaluation of how anyone played. But it sounds like he's trying to gain either a little traction for his website, or he really just did not see anything that, Spreckensy football with him in his own mind. When he asked the question, what does he do well? Well, that's legitimate. That's a legitimate question that I still think no one really has the answer on. What is the one thing that Trey Lance does well or definitively better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Not theoretically, but you've seen it with your own 2 eyes and believe it in your heart. I don't think we even have that list yet.
We have one item. He throws the ball farther. That we do know. He throws the ball farther. That's not really a football skill, though.
And it didn't really translate to any use or good last Sunday.
I also think that while Mike Martz does know football, he's not really terribly schooled in the world of the media, and probably views it as you'd better have a strong take every time you open your mouth, whether you have one or not. And that's what his second set of remarks reminded me of. The one thing that caught my ear was, I don't like the way he runs. Because at that point you're saying, I don't even think the one thing we think he can do, he can do. And if he's right about that, then Trey Lance can't play. I don't know that anybody's with any sort of depth or breadth can say that yet.
Brian Baldinger was on the morning roast, and here's what he had to say about Lance's week 1 evidence of performance.
Well, he didn't lose the game for him. He didn't lose it. You like to see in the fourth quarter him be able to see Eddie Jackson, making that throw. But, there's a lot of guys that make that throw and don't see him. He made a great play. He's a really good free safety. But other than that, in those kind of conditions, I mean, yeah, he missed a throw to Tyler Croft. I mean, it's old Shanahan play. They've been running that thing for 30 years now. If he runs it 8 more times, he probably, strikes, gold on 7 of the 8. I mean, he just overthrew him. But, he didn't lose the game. I mean, they didn't block well up front. They didn't run the ball well. Nobody could tell you the name of those defensive linemen for the Chicago Bears. This isn't a top 5 defense. And, there was a lot of 1 and 2 yard runs from that offense on Sunday.
Kind of a crap fest. No doubt about it. Baldinger went on to say, here's what he needs to get better at quickly on the morning roast.
I think when he gets a clean pocket, like a lot of quarterbacks, they can make great throws like the one to Ray McLeod or to Jawan, and then he hit to one to Ayuk, I mean, those throws are pretty clean. But, when he gets a dirty pocket and, he misses throws, that's when you want him to just be able to calm down in the eye of the storm and just be able to sit there and make the throw. Or, look, if he's got to do something athletic in that pocket to avoid a hit, to throw over some obstruction, you'd like to see him still be able to drive the ball and hit the throw accurately. And I think that's something that he still struggles with.
Again, the throw to Ayuk, here's what I had. I'm just going to go off the notes that I had on Friday of last week when I had my here's what I want to see with my own 2 eyes. The first thing I talked about was how Bosa, Armstead, and Kinlaw, how did they look against a patchwork offensive line? Chicago's got questions everywhere. Well, we saw a lot of Bosa. We saw Kinlaw. Didn't get much out of Eric Armstead in the game on Sunday, but the defensive line pretty much went out and played where I thought they would play. I said I was excited to see Elijah Mitchell. Well, we didn't get to see him for very long. I said I was excited to see what feeding Ayuk might look like. He had 2 catches on 2 targets, so it was hardly a feed Ayuk day. And I said I wanted to see a revamped secondary. And I think that the secondary did a very good job on a Bears team which really spent most of the day terrified to put the ball in the air. They didn't want to throw the ball. The reason why Talanoa Hufanga was able to play like a linebacker is because he was allowed to line up like a linebacker. The Bears put 8 men in the box and said, we dare you to throw at Justin Fields. We double dog dare you. And it was a dare that Fields passed on.
As he should have.
Yes.
I mean, who's he throwing to on that team?
Not a lot. Not a lot. At the same time, I don't know what we just saw. Mike Martz thinks he's seen enough to make a definitive statement like there's nothing I like about this kid, after he said that there was plenty to like about the kid.
You know what he could have said to save himself? There's nothing I like about this kid yet.
Right. The word yet could have done some picking it up and putting it down. By the way, we called Mike Martz to ask him on today, and he refused to come on. He didn't want to come back on and have to explain himself. So there you go.
Well, he won't be missed.
Aw.
At least not by me. I mean, not because he said anything particularly radical. It's just he doesn't know anything more about Trey Lance than any of the rest of us do. In 3 weeks he will, because he has a more trained eye.
Right.
But
someone from the Comcast business text line says, sorry, Coach Martz. I guess that Trey Lance is no Mark Bulger. Very good. Very, very good.